Did you notice what ESPN said over the weekend about North Carolina moving to the Big Ten? We did. They said it's happening. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below while you're watching. That'd be fantastic. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So, North Carolina to the Big Ten all of a sudden? Bill Belichick and realignment. How does that work, by the way, in bringing him to the Big Ten? And our power rankings of recruiting. It's signing day. Let's rank the Big Ten teams. Who did a good job? Who didn't? We'll have all that coming up. Now, you and I have been very busy over the past couple days with the Chip Kelly departure from Ohio State and, of course, signing day this week. But did you notice some strange comments coming out of ESPN regarding North Carolina leaving the ACC for the Big Ten? We did. We saw it. It was on ESPN Game Day. Former Duke basketball player and college basketball analyst Jay Williams, he was talking about the Duke-North Carolina game, which was going to be played later today, this past Saturday. And he said, we need to cherish this game. Who knows how much longer we could have this game? North Carolina could potentially go to the Big Ten, quote unquote. ESPN's Rece Davis right there. He followed it by saying that he didn't think the rivalry would ever go away and that the game would continue as a non-conference showcase. What? What did they just say? Notice what Rece Davis did not say. He did not refute Williams' comment that North Carolina would be in the Big Ten. Really? When? Because, what do they know that we don't know? Well, they work at ESPN. I don't. What makes these comments strange was the timing. Because literally, just days before, the previous week, ESPN, the network that they work for, just extended its option to continue the controversial ACC grant of TV rights deal, in which will tie the ACC conference schools' hands financially till 2036 because it's such a bad deal. Everybody's trying to get out of it. Locked On Big Ten everydayers. You'll know that we dedicated an entire podcast to this last week. And in fact, if you missed it, I suggest you go back. We kind of got into the weeds of the deal and the contracts and how it affects everybody. It's good stuff. But in fact, we were actually disappointed when ESPN took its action of extending that contract, that TV contract with the ACC, holding it together, forcing the teams there, making it more difficult for them to leave. We're disappointed because if you're new to this podcast, it's a long-held belief here on this podcast that the Big Ten and the SEC will expand into a mega super conference, kind of like the AFC and NFC, in the midterm future down the road and do their own thing. They'll have their own playoffs and their own championships. That's the road we're heading. Now, they'll expand and they'll include more teams to do so, but that's the way it's going to be. Other teams in conferences like the ACC or the Big 12, that'll mean join the Big 10 or SEC or die. That's what it's going to mean in the future. And it's our belief that the ACC will ultimately crumble, and that will spur a new round of frantic realignment all over college football. One more time. We believe the ACC will crumble under the weight of its lousy TV deal with ESPN that pays ACC schools pennies on the dollar compared to their counterparts at the Big Ten and the SEC. So we were disappointed last week because when ESPN signed that extension with the TV deal with the ACC, it kind of seemed to pour cold water on any theories about any immediate realignment or expansion talk. Now, keep in mind, since ESPN just stuck it to schools with its low-paying deal until 2036, that's 2036. Think about that. By the time we get there, the Big Ten and the SEC will have completed their much more lucrative TV deals that they're in right now and then negotiate new, more lucrative deals for the future before the ACC schools even have a chance to try and catch up. They're going to be so far behind financially. Literally, these are shackling this ACC conference for the long term. This is why Florida State and Clemson are currently embroiled in expensive lawsuits against the ACC, trying to get out of this deal as they think it came together out of business malpractice. And at the very least, they're suing to get their ACC exit fees reduced that currently stand at 9 figures, by the way. It's over $100 million. They want to get that reduced so they can just pay it and go. The ACC's hanging on to that. There's been some recent talk that the ACC is beginning to capitulate a little bit to Florida State and Clemson and their claims that their brand is worth more than the other schools like Virginia Tech and Duke. They say they should get a bigger piece of the financial pie from ESPN every year. Shouldn't be evenly distributed. And again, the ACC's kind of going, okay, let's talk. Let's make this happen. If you guys drop these lawsuits, maybe we can make this happen. Now, earlier, that very subject was a non-starter that led to these lawsuits in the first place. Less valuable schools in the conference, they might not agree with this still. Why are we going to pay them more and pay us less? We're in it to make money too. But they also don't want to be left out if Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina and Miami all leave. Then these lesser schools will be in the same homeless position that Washington State and Oregon State currently are when the Pac-12 blew up. Meanwhile, North Carolina, they're just sitting back and watching Florida State and Clemson do all this dirty work and waiting for the legal outcomes and the compromises to be worked out. And then they're going to do whatever they feel they need to do in Chapel Hill. When the ACC falls apart sooner or later, schools are going to scramble for a new conference home. But North Carolina, not Clemson, not Florida State, not Miami, North Carolina will be in the driver's seat because I believe both the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get into a bidding war to try and get North Carolina. The other schools, they'll all find their place, however that turns out, Big Ten, SEC, whatever. Both those conferences want North Carolina. The Tar Heels athletic and academic profiles, they both fit what the conferences are looking for, and both conferences want that footprint in the Tar Heel state. I truly believe all this is going to happen one day, but I'll go back to my original point and say that I thought it was very, very strange that the same week that ESPN announced that they were extending that ACC TV deal with ACC schools and locking them all into it until 2036, I really thought that put some cold water on any expansion talk for now. And then they follow it up with two prominent announcers days later ahead of their biggest broadcast of the month, the Duke-North Carolina game. Both spoke as if North Carolina was moving to the Big Ten. It was a done deal. It was a foregone conclusion. Very interesting. Let me know what you think. Hit me up with the comments. Love to hear from you here on YouTube. Hey, while you're here, be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And if you don't mind, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. That really helps us out. Really would appreciate that. Also, don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com. The number 10, talkbig10.com. And all of our podcasts go there chronologically, and we also group them by school. And it's really easy to find your favorite teams that we talk about. And we also have links there to your favorite schools with each podcast, where you can buy some merchandise, get some Michigan shirts, Ohio State hats, Oregon pennants, all that stuff right there at our website, talkbig10.com. So check that out. We would love it if you visited there. All right. Lots more I want to get to here. And part two to this story that we're talking about here today. I want to continue our North Carolina to the Big Ten conversation. And what role does Bill Belichick have in a North Carolina move to the Big Ten? Think about that for a minute. Plus our class of 2025 recruiting power rankings. We're going to line them all up, 1 through 18, all Big Ten schools. Who's done the best? Who's in the middle of the pack? Who's really struggling with this new class of 2025 since signing day is here? All that is coming up right here on Locked On Big Ten. Game time. Getting tickets to events has never been easier. You got game time. Go to the next big event, big game. Big Ten basketball, NFL postseason, got the big one this weekend. Finding a ticket for the right price can be a bit of a headache, but with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. So let me tell you how this works. With Game Time Picks, the app, which you download on your devices or your phone, does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through just endless ticket listings. I love the fact that they have a picture, a view of the seat from the seat of the ticket of which you're about to buy. They got their super deal, prime seat, great value there. And the best part is you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal anywhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options. If something sure to come up, life happens, right? So get ready to make your next event even better. Go to it in person. Sporting events, concerts, comedy shows. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, please, and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day, and check out our website, talkbig10.com. So, was North Carolina's hiring a former Patriots Super Bowl winning coach Bill Belichick a ploy to force their way into the Big Ten? It might have been. It might have been. There are people that think that this hire was made to elevate North Carolina's status as a football school. They're a basketball school, right? And now they're a football school. They got Bill Belichick. And that should make themselves more attractive to the Big Ten or maybe the SEC when the day comes to leave the ACC and they have to choose sides. I believe that was a part of the thought process for North Carolina. I do. I don't believe Belichick had any such thoughts on this subject matter on his own. I would suggest that North Carolina was kind of using Belichick for some big picture thinking. But I also believe that Belichick was using North Carolina to drum up some interest in his services in the NFL because that seemed like it dried up. So maybe they're both using each other a little bit. It happens, right? Two sides of a business deal. And it happens that they came together mutually helpful for both sides. I think it remains perplexing to Bill Belichick that he's won so many Super Bowls as a coach, and he's now gone 2 consecutive coaching cycles in this market, and it's completely dried up for him. There's no interest for him in the NFL. In fact, now I think he was holding out hope to the last minute even this year. He didn't sign his $10 million a year contract in North Carolina until last week. And that was pretty much waiting until every NFL coaching vacancy had been filled up, with the exception of the Saints. That looks like it's going to Kellen Moore, right? So once that all filled up, and there's going to be 2 full years out of the NFL, he says, all right, I'm going to sign this deal here at North Carolina. I'm good to go. I'm all in. Everybody's all in. North Carolina's all in on Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's all in on North Carolina. And North Carolina has itself a marquee named football coach whose credentials go head-to-head with anybody in the country, college or pro. So now, North Carolina, they're all in on football, and this is the first time ever. Again, I mentioned it's a basketball school. We all know that. Now they got some football credentials behind them. And plus, hey, let's not shake a stick at the basketball history here. That'd be very attractive to the Big Ten, and bringing North Carolina in and playing, Indiana and playing all at Michigan State. It'd be great. It'd be fantastic. But football drives everything, no matter what conference you're in. So that's the deal. And now North Carolina has upped its game. So win or lose in football, let's talk a little bit more about North Carolina. Like, I don't pretend to know how long Bill Belichick is going to stick around at Chapel Hill. I don't know if he knows. Maybe he does know. I don't know. Or if he would bolt in an instant for an NFL opportunity next year. I think he might. But it might be fun to imagine in the meantime, as North Carolina is now this football powerhouse and Bill Belichick, and what if he was there long enough to see them move into the Big Ten? you imagine the boos raining down on Belichick, leading his team onto the field in the horseshoe or the big house on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday night? Or how about Belichick facing a whiteout in Happy Valley, facing some harassment at Autzen Stadium, or hearing Dance Around at Camp Randall, or maybe even coach a night game at Kinnick Stadium? It would be fantastic seeing Bill Belichick being part of that, and North Carolina being on that level of a football program. It would be fantastic. It would be awesome. I hope it happens someday. Again, I think that was in the background of North Carolina's thinking in hiring Belichick, with their eyes toward maybe moving to the Big Ten someday. But I don't think Belichick had thought from that angle. But if he's still here in a couple years and this thing's rolling, welcome to the Big Ten. That would be cool. All right. As signing day is here, of course, for the class of 2025, one note for the class of 2026, Lincoln Riley at USC trying to help flip an Oregon quarterback commit for the class of 2026, Jonas Williams. He showed up for a visit at USC on February 1st with a bunch of 2026 and 2027 prospects. Williams gave a verbal commitment to Oregon in August, but his dad said, hey, we're keeping our options open. A lot of dads involved in all these decision-making. And of course, there's also a threat from former Trojans coach Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. He's offered this kid a scholarship as well. So pay attention to that. There may be some news coming up. In the meantime, let's give a shout out to a bunch of our Big Ten players of the game. We used to do this every week during football season. Let's take a look at some accomplishments during basketball. And then in a couple minutes, we'll get back to our football recruiting power rankings, if you will. But congratulations to Bryce Williams in Nebraska, the Big Ten Player of the Week. He scored 27 points, including 8 straight in overtime, and added a season-high 8 rebounds in an 80-74 win against Illinois. He had 28.7 boards and a season-high 6 assists in a 77-71 win at Oregon as well. And Will Riley, we talked about him on this podcast here, Freshman of the Week for the Fighting Illini, scored a team-high 24 points, including 20 in the second half off the bench in an 87-79 comeback win over Ohio State. A freshman. His 24 points off the bench were the most in a Big Ten game this season. He added 16 points in an 80-74 overtime loss at Nebraska. This is his second Big Ten Freshman of the Week award. Having a great season. Meanwhile, with the women, co-player of the week in the Big Ten, Lucy Olson, Iowa. She's a senior, had 16 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds versus Northwestern. Had 28 points, 10 of 18 from the field, helping the Hawkeyes. Had number 4 USC, its first loss of the Big Ten loss of the season. Co-offensive player of the week, Genesis Bryant, who we've talked about here on this podcast before. I believe in our Big Ten, top 10 Big Ten observations on Monday. Out of Illinois, fifth-year senior. Led Illinois to a 3-0 week, including 2 road victories and the program's first ever win over Maryland. 13 points against Purdue, 28.6 rebounds and 2 assists against Rutgers, and had game-winning free throws in the upset over number 14 Maryland. That was it. The free throws at the end, that's what got her on our list of top 10 Big Ten observations on Monday. Also had 20 points and 6 for 6 from the free throw stripe and grabbed 4 rebounds versus the Terps. And finally, Freshman of the week for the women, Olivia Olson out of Michigan, recorded her first 30-point game of her career on a 13 of 19 shooting night with 4 rebounds and 3 steals and an assist against Wisconsin. Double-double, 18 points and 10 boards in 26 minutes versus Oregon, and got her second Big Ten Freshman of the Week award. Again, great year. Good job for her. As we take a look to tonight, Wednesday night, hoops, Big Ten triple header on the Big Ten Network. All Eastern times. Oregon at number 24, Michigan, 6:30, 3:30 Pacific. Number 23, Illinois is at Rutgers, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, Big Ten Network. And Nebraska at Washington, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on the Big Ten Network. But on the women's side, tonight, we got a Peacock doubleheader. Washington is at Penn State. That's at 6 p.m. on Big Ten Plus. But number 7, USC, 19-2 now. They are at Wisconsin. That's at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Peacock. And then main event at nighttime, primetime, 8th-ranked Ohio State with their 20-1 record taking on number 1 UCLA, 21-0, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on Peacock. That is going to be a heck of a ball game later on tonight. So check that out. All right. Signing day is here. We're going to rank the schools in the Big Ten 1 through 25. How did your favorite school do? We'll see. We'll go through that. In the middle of the week, we always do power rankings. So we're going to power rank the recruiting trail. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, it is time to have some fun here. We're going to post on screen our power rankings for recruiting of all 18 Big Ten teams for football class of 2025. We'll put it on the big board here. By the way, if you're new to us, we always do a feature at the end of our podcast. Wednesday, we do power rankings. Thursdays, we take a look at the Big Ten Network and Big Ten Classics and live action in the weekend. Fridays, we do our pigskin picks or basketball picks, depending on the season. Mondays, I've mentioned it twice, we do my top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. Tuesday, we do Tuesday tweets. If you follow us on Twitter or X, @TalkBig10, send us a tweet if it's funny, good graphic, whatever. We pull them on Tuesdays. Those are the features that we do. But right now, let's take a look at the power rankings. I'll put it here full screen. If you're audio only, no problem. Let's take a look at it here. All right. No surprise. Ohio State has had the best recruiting class in the Big Ten for the class of 2025. They've got 3 5-stars coming in, 19 4-stars. Don't forget Tavian St. Clair coming in, 5-star quarterback. Going to come in and learn and ultimately compete with Julian Sand. I mean, that's a quarterback room right there. Ohio State, number 1. Ryan Day, always getting it done. Oregon, always a good recruiter. They got 3 5-stars. They're number 2 and 16 4-stars. Jackson Cantwell I can't wait to see this kid. He is a lineman. He's 6'8", 315 pounds, and smart as a whip. I scored in the 98th percentile in the ACT test. You got to like that. Brains and brawn right up there at the front of the offensive line for the Oregon Ducks. They're number 2. Michigan coming in at number 3, really strong. Sherrone Moore has 2 5-stars and 13 4-stars. And, of course, Bryce Underwood, best player in the country, number 1 recruit in the country, quarterback coming in. That really boosted their numbers when he flipped from LSU. At number 4, we've got USC. They have 1 5-star and 12 4-stars coming in for Lincoln Riley. James Franklin at Penn State, the 5th best class, 18 4-star. No 5-stars, but 18 4-stars. You've got Nebraska coming in at number 6. Matt Rule doing a good job. No 5-stars like he had last year with Dylan Raiola, but he's got 12 4-stars coming in. The Washington Huskies, nice Jed Fish, nice class. Coming in at number 7. Got 7 4-star players coming in. Wisconsin, Luke Fickell, an important year 3 coming up. I don't know how quickly any of these freshmen are going to come in and help them out, but it was a good recruiting class with 7 4-star players. And Maryland at number 9, Mike Loxley. A lot of people whispering a pretty good class for him. Got 5 4-star players coming in here. And then rounding out the top 10, Rutgers, Greg Schiano with 4 4-stars, but 23 3-stars. That's what they do. Bring in a 3-star. He's still good. Develop him a little bit, and then you got something. That's what they do at Rutgers. And they also have, I think, 11 kids coming in at the transfer portal they're very excited about. So some new blood coming in with Rutgers, rounding out our top 10. All right, let's see who maybe isn't doing as well. And look at we'll call it the best of the rest. Iowa has got 4 4-star players. That's really it. The rest are 3. No 5-stars. They're coming in at number 11. The Fighting Illini, I'm a little surprised at this. Not that they didn't get any 5-stars, but only 2 4-star players. I mean, Brett Bielema won 10 games this year. And by and large, he wins every year. So I'm surprised they didn't get more highly rated players. UCLA at number 13, coming in with just 2 4-star players, not really rolling yet for the Bruins. This may surprise you. Indiana at number 14. They only have one 4-star player, no 5 stars, 21 3-stars. So everything that Curt Cignetti is doing, going to bring in a lot of developmental players that are good, that have talent. It might take a while. 21 of them 3 stars. The word is, it looks like he's going to have to do what he did last year and rely more on transfer portal kids that are ready to go while these, 3-star kids develop a little bit. So Indiana really not crawling up the ranks of the high school recruiting yet, matching their success on the football field with 11 wins and a playoff berth this year. Minnesota at number 15, PJ Fleck working it with 3 4-star recruits, 18 3-stars, another one. Bring him in, row the boat, get him on board, do the whole culture thing, and develop. Michigan State, no 5 stars, 1 4-star, 17 3-star players. Jonathan Smith is probably a little bit disappointing. Now, his second year at Michigan State. Probably need a Sparty to be a little higher here this year. Northwestern coming in at number 17. They've got 23-star recruits. And then Purdue, coaching change, lost some players. That really hurt. Dylan Thieneman transferring to Oregon. Really starting over at the bottom of the basement, the Purdue Boilermakers with 12 3-star players coming in. So that's it. That's how I see it. Ranking 1 through 18, our power rankings this week. Big Ten recruiting, class of 25, class of 2025. The second and final signing day is here. That's the deal. What do you think? What do you think about your school? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Many ways for you to interact with this podcast, of course. Don't forget, Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten, number 10. Our website, Talk Big Ten, number 10, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there, and you can buy yourself some merchandise to show some school spirit from your favorite Big Ten school right there. No matter what you do before you leave, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button for free. Boom. And then you and I, we're on the same page every day, all things Big Ten. On this podcast, you will get daily news, breaking news. You will also get analysis, and we are not afraid of opinion here, mine or yours. That's what we do every day. So if you don't mind, subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and to get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Thanks for joining us. We got more great news tomorrow, great storylines, getting you a little closer to the weekend, and I always appreciate it. Share the word. Tell your friends that we're out here each and every day. And I never take for granted our visit. So thank you. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.